This is Stephen McKenna. I'm doing a voiceover of another YouTube clip, and this time it's a recap of my season last year, 2022. It started in the Two Times You series. I went over to meet the Pillar and Two Times You guys who I'd just partnered with, and um, they convinced me to race, even though I continued to tell them how unfit I was. But um, I was happy to be embarrassed if they were happy to see that. And I did. I raced really poorly for myself, I guess, and it was a good eye opener though. So I'm actually glad I did it because I had Geelong 70.3 6 weeks later, and I don't think I would have switched on as quickly as I did, and went into kind of training OCD mode as quickly as I did if I hadn't basically got my ass handed to me in like mid-January or whatever it was. Um, it's now early January, and I will definitely not do this again. I've had my December off again, and it was really enjoyable, eating and drinking a lot. And I'm getting back into training, but I'm not going to rush a race. I'll just remember what happened here last year and start switching on right away, basically. I'm also not going to race Hobart 70.3 in February. It's too early. It's only a few weeks after this race would have been. I just know that it's not going to work. I think Braden Curry's rocking up, and I'm going to be well behind, but I can change things very quickly after this many years in the sport now. So just need 6 weeks, maybe as a minimum, and I won't be racing like I am here. Um, but I will be filming and using this weight vest that I've got on here. It's like a mic vest, I guess you call it. I'll be using that at Victor Harbour, 100k race in March, 2 weeks before Geelong. So I will have to go through this again, but I'll be a lot fitter. So there's another video like this one coming, which is a lot more quality than the rest of my videos for the year just gone, I reckon. Here's just me explaining that I need to get fit. Um, you've all been there probably in a race where you start thinking probably just after the swim that this is going to be a horrible day and that I never want this to happen again and I need to get fit. So I had that realization and I got to Geelong here 6 weeks later and things changed a lot. Here's Josh Amberger coming out of the water with Luke Willian and Sam Appleton. And based on the Two Times U series 6 weeks earlier or whatever it was, you would assume that I was going to be at least 3 minutes behind these guys and have a very bad day. But here's Caleb Noble and here's me coming out of the water. So we were right behind them actually. So that was great. I think with the heavy training load towards what I thought was going to be an Ironman, which I didn't do in the end, um, my bike legs weren't really working. So here's us all coming up the hill, and in the end, I couldn't go with Josh and Apo, and it's almost impossible to beat that combo. So I was happy just to see what happened on the run, and we tried our hardest. I think I was riding with Luke Willian and Caleb Noble alone, and there was a second pack a bit further behind. So we tried our hardest to just keep the gap. See, they've just gone up the hill in Geelong, and we're coming back down, so we are already about 2 minutes down. And then I think by the end of the ride, this is halfway, and we were 4 minutes down. So here's Apo on his first lap of the run, and I did end up having a pretty good run this day. I think it was a 1:11, maybe probably just over 1:11. So I caught um, Josh in the end. He was still running pretty fast at this point, as you saw in the video, but we had like a little sprint finish battle at the end, and I came second, and I was about a minute 20 behind Apo in the end. So he ran a 1:13, or maybe I was just 2 minutes behind him in the end. Either way, I was actually pretty happy with the race, despite my bike legs not really working. And this is Husky. I swam even better here. It was a week later though, so I wasn't really sure how I was going to go. I was really sore from that running up and down hills at Geelong, you get pretty sore from that running course if you go hard enough, and I did go hard. So this was a good transition by me, and I thought I'll try and get away here. And I ended up falling off the bike when me and Burkle did get away. So when I caught up to the second pack after getting back on my bike, Burkle was away alone, and he stayed away alone. And it was a pretty punchy ride for me, trying to catch back up, trying to break away at the start, and then trying to get rid of a few people in that bike pack I was in, and it just never worked. Nothing was working. So I'd had kind of an elbow bleeding, a knee bleeding, and I was just battling. And Caleb Noble, who didn't have a great run at Geelong, ended up taking out Husky Aussie champs. So that was awesome to see because I really like Caleb, like the way he races. And then I prepared for a US trip. So this is that race. This is Oceanside. Again, still swimming really well, but didn't know how I'd go arriving 6 days before the race. And I was really nervous in the end because I hadn't slept until about 2 days before the race. I just was on a different time zone still, and it was really stressing me out that I was up until 2 a.m. every night and then waking up around 6. So it was a pretty poor sleep, and it was only about 4 hours every night. And then when I swam this well on Canute and Brownlee's feet, I thought, oh, maybe I'm on actually. I should be all right. And at this has already happened, but it was interesting when I tried to go past Brownlee in transition because he was running fairly slow in transition. He gave me a massive elbow to the sternum, and as if to say, "You're a pleb, stay back where you belong." So I did. I ran in behind him, but then when I got to my bike, I proved again that I'm still the fastest T1 specialist this side of Texas, and I was out second just behind Canute. But that's kind of where my race ended on this day. I was with the lead pack for about 20k, and then I got an overtaking penalty, which I can't believe is 5 minutes, but this is probably going to show it now. These two, I think Canute just bombs it now to the front, and it had grouped up a lot around that corner where you just saw us turn around. So there's me. It grouped up so much that I was up Appleton's bum, and I didn't want to be there, metaphorically or. Um, I can't even think right now. Sorry, I've had too many beers, but I accidentally said I was up Appo's bum, and I can't get myself out of it. So I'll leave this recording. I'm not going to do it twice. Hopefully that gives you a laugh, or you can judge me heavily, whatever. I'll go back to what I was doing. I tried to overtake Canute, but we got to a hill and he was going pretty hard, so I just couldn't get past him, and I was not feeling it that day. And then the guy goes, "It's been 25 seconds. You're meant to do it quicker than that." And I just couldn't keep pushing 500 watts to try and get past. So I got a 5 minute penalty, and I did finish the race that day, but 5 minutes, you're already definitely not going to be in the top, whatever, 10 in that race. It was very competitive. And I rolled my ankle getting onto the run where I actually started running pretty well. But yeah, I rolled it, and it was a torn ligament, like very, very mild. So it looked bad, but it wasn't actually that bad. So I kept training and came to this race, which you've been watching. It's the LA Tri, the PTO put it on. This one I came third, and that was after an altitude stint in Boulder. Here's Eric Langestrom and a South African. God, I know his name, but I've forgot it. I didn't actually watch this video before I did this recording because my brother has put this together. Thank you, Danny. And I didn't get to research first. I tried to remember his name just then, but I can't. He's actually really good. He does Super League, and he's an ITU kid now from South Africa. Very young, but he's going to do big things. I wish I could tell you his name because he will do big things. Jamie Riddle, got it. His name is Jamie Riddle. Watch out for Jamie Riddle's name because he'll be very good in ITU very shortly. Anyway, he won the race. Eric Langestrom, and then me. It was a very fast race in the end. I think I was one of the quickest run times. Jamie Riddle was probably equal to. and it was 31, 31:30 for a 10K, but it's like basically a course that's up and down a hill twice. So it's a very hilly course, but another one that you get really sore from. So my legs, my quads were absolutely beaten up from that 10K run. And a week later, I went to Chattanooga, 70.3, which is the North American champs. And here we are racing it here. And I wasn't actually too worried about the legs because there was a few other favourites like Jason West, Eric Langstrom. He had also raced at LA. So I was like, I was kind of thinking, oh, there's other people in my basket of complaining. So I would just stop complaining because they don't seem to be complaining about their legs. So it must be fun. And I ended up biking really well. But what my coach told me was, you probably will bike well with sore quads. You just won't run well. So I tried to ignore that. Here you can see I was actually cramping coming out of T2. Wait for it. I'm going to start smacking my leg in a second. Here I go. Big quad cramps, probably from the LA race the week before, but I was actually feeling good. So I went straight past Rudy von Berg into second place and just, it felt easy, but at this point I hadn't really learned how to pace myself. So I could have gone a lot quicker overall and maybe got on the podium if I just paced it well, but we were like a minute ahead and I should have known that it was like my threshold rather than my 70.3 pace, what I was running at the start. So I faded a bit and did a 1:14 and got fifth at the North American champs. So Jason West did a 1:09, which is amazing, and he won it. And then I reckon I did Challenge Career. I won that race, and then I came home and had a little break with my family and went on to this race, which is Sunshine Coast 70.3. And I wasn't at full fitness yet, but I did actually think I could win it. I thought my numbers, I hadn't put consistent training together yet, but my numbers were looking better than they ever had been. So I still actually thought I could do something really good today, even though I was just getting started on this next training block. And it all started basically. This is the first race of three where I said to myself, and I promised myself I wasn't going to race like I usually do, which is taking a lot of risks and punching on the bike, trying to get away from people on the bike, trying to look like I'm in the lead the whole time or whatever. I kind of just did what I had to on the bike. I didn't try to break away. Like I think Max did, so that's why it was impressive that he still ran really well. And we ended up running side by side for the entire half marathon, and then we got to that infamous hill towards the finish of 70.3 Sunny Coast, and we sprinted up the hill together, and he got like 10 meters on me, and then mentally crushed me basically after 4Ks at 3 minute pace. I was absolutely done. So he went off and he won, and it was super strong. And then he went to Kona and came fourth at the world champs. So it gave me confidence, but also it's an Ironman. It's not a half, so I didn't read into it too much. Um, I went off and trained for Busselton Ironman and wasn't going to do this race you're seeing right now in Melbourne, but I had, the training block had gone so well, and there was no hiccups, which wasn't expected. So I thought I actually would love a taper for a race right now. So 3 weeks out from Busselton, I did Melbourne 70.3, and I couldn't get away from this group on the bike. My Ironman legs were definitely with me after maybe a 2 day taper for this race, and I just didn't have the power to get away from a pack, and it was almost impossible with the motorbikes filming us as well. Every time someone got a gap, like myself, Fraser, or Mitch Cunningham, it was closed down very quickly as the motorbikes would follow you to film, and they are huge in terms of giving a draft. So this is me doing the robot as I finished. I was pretty pumped um, about this win, and then it just set me up really well to take confidence into Busselton Ironman, and there I could step down on the power and pace, and yeah, it felt like a kind of a training day at Bustleton, which was cool. Max went off at the start of the bike and went crazy hard for a Ironman anyway, and he because there's no Kona qualification here, he thought he was. We kind of knew what he was going to do because he kind of said it the day before. He said he was going to take a few risks because, well, he doesn't care if he doesn't get his. There's no Kona slot, so he didn't care about the race as much. Whereas for me, this was like about. This is my third Ironman. I just wanted to together a really good Ironman, and I didn't mind if I had to race alone the whole day. So we did. Burton raced alone, and he was third in the end. I was second in the end. Max rode alone the whole day and ran alone the whole day. So really fair race. Very windy, and we were all pretty stoked with the times that we did because of the circumstances. Really, there's me kissing Winnie on the finish line and at 7:50, and realizing my season was over. And thank God, because had been a huge, 14 weeks leading into Bustleton, and thanks to everyone that was involved.